And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right, I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much you came back for more. Brilliant decision because we have a lot more for you. Now, why do we have a lot more for you? Because this is the podcast that's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And my guest today is a podcaster. You crack the code. You really are brilliant. Way to go, folks. I love that you're here. This is the place that we all come together to raise each other up. And this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So let's get sailing and let's go meet this incredibly interesting gentleman who has graced us with his presence today. The founder of Humble Zone, the creator of Home Studio Mastery, the host of the Hacks and Hobbies podcast, Passion to Profit Stories, author of two books, Mastering iPhone Video Production and the Seven Stages of Home Studio Evolution. Plus, he's got a couple of challenges. He's got a million other things going on. Honestly, I could talk about this all day. I think you'd rather hear about it from him. So let's welcome to the studio. Please welcome Junaid Ahmed. Junaid, brother, how are you today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here as a guest on the podcast, Rory. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for coming today. You have a unique topic and niche and everything compared to the folks that normally get to talk to. So I'm really excited about this because I don't normally get to talk about the stuff you're going to talk about. And I can't wait to hear about it just myself, to be honest. So I'm kind of a fan already after listening to your podcast, man. As we kind of get into this, before we launch into all of this stuff that I know you and I want to talk about, tell everybody a little bit about who is, Junaid. What are you about? What brings you here today?
I love podcasting and I fell in love with podcasting back early in the 2009s. I think I probably listened to Adam Carolla, listened to some other ones. And then finally, I was like, hey, let's do a podcast. So this was back in 2012. I asked my cousins, like, hey, let's do a podcast. We called it Still Brewing It. We were brewing ideas every single day, talking about technology. Unfortunately, that podcast lasted for a good 4 episodes.
Uh,
Just good experience. Unfortunately, we didn't have tools like this that we have, like Zoom and Riverside and whatnot. So fast forward to 2018, I've been asking, like, dude, I want to do this, I want to do this. And finally, I'm finished reading this book by Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says, just document your journey. Just document your whatever you're doing. I'm like, you know what? Thank you. I just needed that invitation, and I jumped in, started recording my first episode on the Hacks and Hobbies podcast on my phone, in my car, driving home from work. And so
I love
let
that.
me let me take you back. Like who is Junaid anyway? So I come from a tech background. I'm a tech enthusiast, a storyteller. Home studio architect is what I eventually now become. And what's cool is that it all circles around passion and design, solving problems. So long ago, when I was introduced to computers back in the 90s, I was totally fascinated. Fast forward, I started designing for my uncle using Microsoft Word and some flyers. And then as I continue to evolve, I'm just solving people's problems. Hey, we need a flyer. Okay, I got it done. We need a website. I learned how to design websites. So continue to design these experiences and solutions. And it all led me to designing mobile apps, enterprise applications. But it wasn't until 2018 that I was like, hey, I want to design an audio experience for people for to get a feeling into who Junaid is, right? So as I did that, I was like, enough talking about me. After the first year, let's bring in guests on the show. So I started interviewing guests on the show, and it helped me evolve and it helped me develop personally as well. Because as I listened to the stories, and you probably had that same experience, as you listen to other people's stories, it starts to do something for you. You start to evolve you because you're putting all this good stuff in your mind. It starts coming out, and as I'm learning from people's passion to profit stories, my passion of photography and filmmaking become my my profit story, where now I get to help others build their studios, build their sets, so that they show up with confidence, they show up professionally, authentically, and reliably.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love the way you said that too. As we sit here in this seat, in the hosting chair, we do. We just absorb everybody's story,
Mhm.
and we get to benefit from all of that, from everything you guys have learned. Yeah, it really is remarkable, the effect of podcasting on your mind and
Yes.
on your heart. I love that you recognize that. That's fantastic. That's great. Okay, so this is kind of how you started, getting into that
Hmm.
part of the business. Tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you've founded and created. You're the founder of Humble Zone.
Hmm.
What can you tell us
So,
about that?
yeah, so Humble Zone, it was a company that I formed back in 2000. And as I'm helping in building websites and logos and designs, I was like, hey, what company name could I use? And I have a little experience with kickboxing back in 2000. No, sorry, back in '95. I was doing kickboxing, and in the maxim that I unfortunately can't remember, there's a part about being humble. Like you have all this power because you're a kickboxer, but you have all this power, but you still need to be humble. So I was like, humble zone sounds pretty cool because I was looking at auto zone, stretch zone, like all these different zones. I'm like, hey, y'all got to be in the humble zone. So I formed that business back then, helping people solve their problems or of being, having marketing materials for the businesses, flyers, business cards, logos, what have you, websites and whatnot. So that's where Humble Zone started, but it's evolved with me, of course, over time. So now we focus on podcast production and building studios, as well as uh, creating a digital presence for the people that we work with. So that's Humble Zone as an umbrella corporation.
Nice. All right. So yeah, you got your start all the way back then doing this stuff. Creator of Home Studio Mastery. That sounds like it's a little more recent.
This is a lot more recent. Started almost 4 years ago, and during the pandemic, right?
Mm.
I we're all stuck in homes, and I was like, well, I'm in my office, and I don't like what I see on the camera. And if I want to show up and teach people about iPhone video production and all the proper things that you need to be doing when you're creating video, I need to show up a certain way as well. So having a little background in photography and filmmaking, which I actually started again back to when I was 11 years old, my uncle gave me as a gift a film camera. So I've been behind cameras for many, many years, and as I've been behind cameras, been shooting commercials, short stories, and whatnot. I'm already very well aware of how cameras work. So as I'm putting these things together and staging my stage in my room, people start asking me like, "Hey, we're all on Zoom, but why does your image look so much sharper? What are you doing differently?" So I started teaching them like, well, you gotta have the right lighting, you gotta have this aperture, you gotta have this lens and camera, blah blah blah. And people are like, wait, can you do this for me and like help me figure this out? I'm like, absolutely. So we spent time together, and that's where Home Studio Mastery came together. So I have a few courses, challenges around it to get people in, just inviting because we all have stories. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way, like going through the documenting process, learning from other stories. And that's the beautiful thing about when you learn or listen to other people's story is that you start to tell your own story because you've seen you start a model. Start a model.
Yeah. You did an episode on that recently, a solo
Absolutely.
episode on that. I
Hmm.
love that one. I listened to that on your podcast too. And you had a lot to say about telling your own story. That was that was very, very informative. You don't want to encapsulate the whole episode here, but briefly, what do you have to say to our listeners who are a lot of podcasters about
Hmm.
telling their story?
You know, the our story is what connects our listeners to us. So anytime you see Gary Vee, no matter what type of video he's putting out, we're gonna stop and listen because we already know his story. We know why he put the five up all the time. Somebody actually started holding his hand, like giving him a high five or something. I'm like, no, you don't know my five. So, anyways, when you know these stories, the insights, and you're going to connect on a much deeper level. We know he talks about the Jets all the time because that's the five story right with him. So the more you share your story, your personal struggles, what you're going through, like why did I even get into beekeeping in the first place? Like what we're talking about podcasting, but you're doing beekeeping? Like where's that come from? Right? So that's my story on why I did that, because it had to do something with my kids and them being affected by allergies and whatnot. And a little point about how the doctor said, hey, local honey is really good for seasonal allergies. I'm like, totally two different separate things. And not knowing anything about it, I dug in, like, hey, what's going on? So when you tell your story, you create that deeper connection with people. And like if I said Will Smith or Michael Jordan, we know some of their story, not the whole thing, but we still relate to them one way or another. So that's why it's so important to share your story, share about who you are, because we want to create that human connection.
Nice. Nice. That was a big part of your episode. I'm glad you threw that one out there. So,
Thanks.
yeah, it's a shame he likes the Jets, but what are you gonna do? He's just doomed to sadness, I think, for quite a while on that one. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, all right, wonderful. So then, the you've written a couple of books too. Now, when in your story did the books come along, and what made you write those?
Great question. So as I am podcasting 20 toward the end of 2018, I interviewed a gentleman on my show, Earl Erdman, and he was like, "Hey," and then we were connected through podcasting as well. And he's like, "Hey, I'm writing a chapter in this book, Magnetic Entrepreneur. You should do it." I'm like, "I don't know if I have anything to write about." And I finally met him. He showed me the book, and I'm like looking through it, the thing, and then he's like, "Dude, you could totally do it. It's Thanksgiving. There's like a Black Friday offer." I'm like, "Okay, what do we gotta do?" They're like, "Well, you write a chapter in this book, and then you get another chapter in this other book." I'm like, "Okay." So I wrote, and being somebody who's written stuff like blogs and whatnot, I didn't have the time to sit down and write. And I've been on this journey of podcasting, so I was like, "Well, I can use my voice to write something." So I recorded like 2.5 hours of audio on my commute back and forth from work. It turned out to be 17,000 words or something. And the
Wow.
guy's like, "I just need 2,000 words." So I had my family member who's an editor edit it down to be included in the chapter. But then I was like, I can do another chapter on using your smartphone as a video device, because a friend of mine who did LinkedIn local events, he saw me walking around with a gimbal and my smartphone, and this is back in 2017. He's like, "Dude, you should totally talk about this." So as I was talking about it, I was like, I can totally make this into a chapter. I tried to do a course on it, and so that's what the second chapter became. And now this book was supposed to be published back in 2019, but because there were other people, other chapters, then there's something that happened that caused it to not go live, legal issues and whatnot. So I was like, whatever. Now in 2023, I'm still sitting on top of this um, chapter. I was like, hey, maybe I can turn it into a book. So a friend of mine, he helps people self-publish books, and I'm in his mastermind. So I brought it up. I'm like, hey, what if I did this? He's like, absolutely, let's make it happen. So I took that chapter, converted it into a coffee table style book. So it's a more of a square book as opposed to a regular book. And then the other fun thing that we did in it is we used Midjourney to create some imagery of what it was like for me to come from the U.S. to U.S. When I was migrating or transitioning or whatever. So we used some AI to create these images. We took the stories and put it together in this form. So not only does it share a little bit about my story of where I come in from, but then also teaches people the different tools and software they can use to create video content. So that's iPhone mastering iPhone video production. Now, I've been wanting to do a second edition because there's so much that has changed with the iPhone. And I'm not sure if you knew, but since the introduction of the iPhone 15 Pro in October, the year before last, they've been using the iPhone 15 Pro for, or Apple has been using that camera for literally all of their video production.
Really? I did not know that. I had no idea. Wow.
And the latest movie, F1, the movie that just came out with Brad Pitt,
Hmm.
they actually took that same camera and encapsulated into a aerodynamic foil that is attached to these cars going at 300 miles an hour to capture cinematic footage of the track. So that same camera is in our phones,
Wow.
right?
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what version of phone I have, brother. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking at it
Yeah.
right now going, I don't even know what I got. So it's I'm one of those, unfortunately, which is why I'm so fascinated with all the stuff you're talking about right now.
Thank you.
But all right, I mean, I wow. So that's how you wrote the
The first
mastering
book.
iPhone video production,
Correct.
right?
And what's the backstory of that was in 2014, my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, we want to go off-roading." So I was living in Colorado at the time. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to ship my truck over. It's a LX 470. It's basically the 100 series of the Toyota Land Cruiser." And he shipped it over to Colorado. We went to off-roading, and there was 35 other Land Cruisers also there. So at this trip, I used my iPhone 5S to record all this footage. I put all this content together and I posted on YouTube. And that video alone got 35,000 views. It was shot
Wow.
on an iPhone, edited it on an iPhone, uploaded to YouTube on an iPhone. I didn't need anything else. So everything was already there. And this is 10 years ago, 2014, right? We're sitting in 2025. So the technology has come so far. So I wanted to teach people about it. So that's a precursor of why I even wrote the book.
Hmm. That's amazing. And then you wrote another one, Seven
Yes,
Stages of Home Studio Evolution.
absolutely, Rory. So as we are going through our lifetime, we are, let's say you want to get into a hobby. You're not going to be best at the hobby when you start out. You're going to slowly evolve. Let's say you're playing pickleball, or let's say you're getting on getting into cycling or skating, or whatever it is, marathon running. You're going to start at the base level, and you're going to start as a novice, and you're going to start and you're going to upgrade, and maybe you become a hobbyist by investing a little more into that hobby. So when I started my cycling in 2011, I just bought a mountain bike. It was it's we still have it. It's like 20, no, it's like 35 pounds. It's a great mountain bike, but when I wanted to do road biking, cut it didn't cut the rubber. And at that time, I went and bought a much more expensive bike so that I can ride. And that what I was only introduced to that because I took this 2016 journey. I know I'm all over the place. So when you're a novice, you start at zero, and the cool part is we all have these smartphones, these $1,000 cameras that we can use for video production for our home studios. So in the past 4 years, as I've been getting questions from people like, hey, what camera do I use? What lighting do I need? Do I need to have all of this stuff to get started? So I was like, let me answer these questions in the 7 stages of home studio evolution. So you start as a novice, and then you're like, okay, I like this footage. I'm comfortable. And then you're like, okay, what's the first purchase that I need to do? So then, as soon as you go and buy that microphone, you're already upgraded to being a hobbyist because you've invested more time and energy into it. And then you move up to an enthusiast because now you spend some more time on camera, lighting, some sound, and then you move up to then being a semi-pro, a pro, an expert, and then a broadcaster. So those are the 7 different stages, and it's not about you purchasing the gear. It's about evolving over time and learning how the gear works so that you're more comfortable with all of that stuff, right? I can press this button and show all the things that go into my space, right? But this is not where it started. I started with a simple monitor, a camera, maybe one piece of light, and over time I've just evolved because I'm now more comfortable with using all of this stuff.
Can you hit that button one more time? Just because I want to make sure everybody's looking at this. I mean, folks, if you're on the video, you get to see this. If you're not, you need to go check out the video just for, even if it's just for a minute. This setup is really something. I mean, look at the lights, the screens. Brother, that is impressive.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you
That
so much.
really is impressive. Thank you for doing that because I loved the I loved the visual aid right there. Holy cow, folks. I mean, you gotta wow. All right. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You obviously know what you're talking about. That was that was a great endorsement right there.
Appreciate it.
Practice and what you preach. Okay, so that's the second book, where that came from. Let me go back to the podcast just for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
because, well, obviously it's Podcaster Nation, so we want to talk about that, on and off here throughout. But when people come to your podcast, you certainly have a large variety of things that are on there. You talk about a lot of different topics. They're all helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're doing the podcast, who is it you're doing the podcast for and to when you're coming up with your content?
The podcast is for anyone looking to see a glimmer of light of what's possible, right? So that's anyone. But if I were to uh, cinch it down even more, come down the path of who is it really for? Well, it serves two purposes. One, can it be done? What can be done? Right? So yes, it can be done. You can literally take any profession you want and build out a life for yourself. The second one is it's almost like a legacy. I have four kids and I want to show them, look, anything you want to pick, it's fair game, but you have to put in the work. And that's the through line through every single episode. They put in the work. They knew the right people. They did the right things. Even if they didn't do the right thing, guess what? They didn't quit. They came back. The first moment of you failing at something is that you stop trying.
Hmm.
So don't stop trying. So that's the idea behind the podcast. And with the recent episodes where I've split them up instead of one long episode, is so I can focus in on the origin story and then also focus in on, hey, how can you implement what this guest is bringing to the table into your life, into your space, into your business and whatnot.
Nice. And so is that primarily who you bring on as guests, are people who can, answer those questions for your listeners?
Absolutely. So guests that are coming on and they're answering those questions for my audience, as well as showcasing to entrepreneurs who are just getting started. Maybe they've been doing for a year or 2 year. They see those patterns and they see, oh, this is going to get me to the next level, because that's the idea, right? You've gone from high school to college, and from college to this next the next degree. You're learning, you're evolving, and that's the thing about humans. We're continually evolving, and every single year there's going to be a new set of people who are entering this workspace, this workforce. So it's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing learning for me, as well as building this platform so that folks have a place to go and place to listen to.
Nice. Nice. Now, podcasting question. How do you go about promoting your podcast and what have you found works best for you?
So the promoting is my Achilles heel right now. So what's worked best so far is short pieces of content that I can share on social and letting my guests know, I'm like, hey, your episode is out. Let's promote it. There are other things that we're also doing. For example, um, asking the guest, hey, do you want to boost this post or share it with an ad or whatnot? So there's a ton of different ways that's possible, but what's working right now for me is organic most of the times. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. And your podcast guesting too.
Yes,
I
I'm
mean, here
guesting
you
on
are.
shows. That's right. That's the number one. That's the number one thing to promote your podcast because they're already listening to the podcast. They're already on the platform that you want them to stay on.
Exactly. All right. So you're an advocate for podcast guesting. You think that's a good idea? Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I am. I
Excellent.
mean, if I were to tell you how many guests I have pre-recorded for on the podcast, we're at 90 right now. I'm already in season 8, recording for season.
All right. So you got a little bit of content in the tank. I love that. That's
Yes.
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. All right. That's beautiful. Now, in terms of the podcast, I know that you use it for branding, of course, and for it's educational for the listeners and that type of thing. It's motivational and inspirational. I loved your story episode, like we talked about. Um, the how much do you get to use it for marketing and sales and things like that? Because I know you have a couple of challenges that are out there.
So I don't push too much marketing or challenges in the podcast, although I was just on podcasting morning chat earlier, and they're asking the same question. How do you get more engagement with your audience? Well, you got to ask it ahead of time on the episode as opposed to towards the end of the episode. Start at the beginning. So there's there's constant evolution that I'm implementing into the podcast as well. So yeah,
All right. And so you've got a couple challenges, like I said. And if folks haven't heard about them through the podcast necessarily, I know you want to get the word out on those. What are those challenges? And I know they're very different. So what's each challenge and what do people kind of get from it? What are they involved in?
absolutely. So the first challenge is called the 30 Days of Video Challenge. It's a challenge for anybody who's getting started to get a little get a little bit more comfortable in front of camera. Now, I mentioned earlier that I come from a tech background. I've been behind camera almost all my life. And I was scared to be in front of the camera. I was like, what am I going to even say? Like the first time I tried to record my show, my course on iPhone video production, I was like, wait, what am I going to be talking about? How is it going to start? And I was speechless. So, and it's the same for everybody, right? How do you like? What do you even start talking about on camera? So the 30-day challenge, you get an email, has a prompt in it, like, hey, what can you talk about? Here's a question for you to answer in a video form, and then here's some sample answers that you can do. Right? So I'm giving them the prompts so that they have something to answer to. And that's so much easier than trying to figure out what do I talk about. So the 30 days are pre-configured. You can start anytime, and as you go through these day-to-day prompts, you get better and you get more confidence, and you even get to tell your own story because the more we talk about our own story, the more you talk about your the thing that you're passionate about, the more natural you comes out. So that's been a lot of fun doing that. So that's the 30-day video challenge. And the second challenge is now that you're comfortable in front of the camera, you're probably thinking about, okay, I need to do more of these videos. Where do I do it? Well, the 5-day home studio rehab is basically a challenge that talks about where are you going to be setting up your home studio in your room. Is it feng shui enabled? Do you have windows in your shots? Take those out. Make sure you're focusing on the audio aspect of it, the lighting. Where's the camera going to go? What's the camera seeing? Because a lot of the times, here's what's happened, Rory. When we're setting up our office, we're only focusing on what we see. It's always forward focusing. I'm like, oh, this is going to be looking nice. I've got pictures here that I can see. I've got all of this stuff here. And as soon as you turn on the camera, guess what? You forgot about what's behind you.
This is true,
So
unfortunately.
now you've
Yes.
got to look at both things. What do I see and what does the camera see? Right? So once you design that studio and what the camera sees, it's so much easier because you've thought through of what's going to happen. And when I was trying to record that first video, first course, I was like, what's going to be my background? I had all these yellow walls. I'm like, I don't like this look. It's ugly. And I was watching the people on LinkedIn and they're using these vinyl backdrops or cloth backdrops. I bought one, and fortunately or unfortunately, it was washed out. It didn't look as sharp as I was hoping it would be. Right. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just going to try and wing it with this. And then I had to figure out the lighting. But I had so limited time. It took me like 2 hours just to set up the space. And now that when it came time to hit record, I froze, and then my kids came down like, "Dad, it's time for dinner. What are you doing over here?" Right. So there's so many things evolved, and as a parent, there's so little time. So I was like, okay, let's put the time and energy in setting up this space. So all I got to do is come in here, hit record, and start talking, and that takes time. So that's the 5 day challenge that helps you figure out, okay, what do you need in your room? What do you need in your space? Because think about it, Rory. When you moved into your house, you probably spent a lot of time setting up your dining room, setting up your living room, setting up your family room. Where's the TV gonna go? So that when we have the time and we relax or we have people coming in, you just go and sit down.
Right.
You don't just go, oh wait, I just moved here. Let me pull out the chairs so you can sit down and have a chat. So that's the idea behind setting up the home studio, and the challenge helps you get there.
Nice. I like the idea behind it all. It's you need to be comfortable and you're set up, and it's just once you put the thought into it and you get it done, then you have a place that's just steady and stable that you go to,
Yeah,
and then you can worry about the content and not be worried about,
exactly.
do I have everything I need, in front of me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they both use different parts of our brain. One is creative, the other one is more logistical, right? So you want to, and it's really hard for our brains to focus when you're constantly switching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But once
Yeah.
you have a space set up, I can literally walk out of here, go hang out in my living room or in my dining room, and just chill or whatnot. But then anytime it's time to record, I'm like, okay, time to go. I come down here, turn on the computer, turn on the lights, and we're ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite the setup you have, but once you set it up, it's there.
It's there.
So that's perfect. I love it. I love everything that you're doing. I mean, I can see how all the different, aspects of your businesses kind of come together, work in synergy. So that also took a little bit of planning, I think, didn't it?
Yes, it took a time. I mean, I've been podcasting, since 2018, so it's been, some time, and I've evolved over time. There were episodes that I recorded for 2 hours back in the days. I'm like, it's a fun conversation, but is a listener going to stick around? I'm not Tim Ferriss, or I'm not, Stephen Bartlett, where people are watching those shows for 2 hour and a half, 2 hours, listening to Beast. So there's a cool um, story where this guy's like, "Hey, sorry, I didn't have enough time, so I wrote you a long letter. If I had more time, I would have written you a smaller letter."
I would have put the thought in and made sure that I actually got it all in concisely. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That boy, that applies to podcasting in a lot of ways. It sure
Mm-hmm.
does.
Yeah.
I love that. All of this, like I said, your business clearly, all works together. And of course, you're doing this from a business standpoint. But, you shared something with me before the program about a much deeper why to what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And I mean, that really hit me. Do you want to share that with everybody?
Absolutely. So the deeper why behind why we're doing this, right? Media, as we all know, is very polluted. There's so much negativity being portrayed on television, which is crazy because that's how they get the odds. That's how they get the views, right? The negative. And the beautiful part, and I just realized this the other day. So, and you probably, whoever's listening, probably experienced this. Anytime you fill a water bottle, right, you'll hear the sound, and the sound becomes more tighter and tighter as the water fills up, because the more empty a bottle is, the more sound it's going to make. So think about that. The more empty, the more negative something is, it's more empty. They're just doing for the fanfare. If you look at a balloon, most of it is air, and that's what negativity is. So
Yeah.
the focus is to build a media school for Muslims that's more ethical. You're, you're training them ethically. You're showing them, hey, the bigger why, because here's the beautiful part, Rory. We're all humans. We all use the toilet the same way, right? And if there's so little differences between us, and unfortunately, the wrong thing is being hyped up or put fuel, fueling the fire or whatever you might call it. So the goal is to raise ethical human beings, give the tools to the students so that they know not only how to use the gear, the technology, the cameras, get them good on that, but then also how they can tell the stories the right way.
Nice. Nice. I mean, that is quite the vision. That is that just based on your own experience, wanting to give back and help like that?
It's a combination, right? So not only do I have 4 kids, like I mentioned, so I want to make sure that they have a place to go, that they can learn morally right, up ethical leadership and whatnot. But then also what we've been seeing around the world, we've been seeing on television, and where the focus is going. And luckily, we're in a space right now where a ton of the focus is actually going to YouTube. The creators have the floor now.
Hmm.
You probably heard the story where Stephen Colbert's show was canceled, or the late night show was canceled on
Hmm.
CBS. And I read an article where it says the creator killed the late night show. It's not really the creator, it's they're trying to sell the company, or they want less hassle. But if you think about it, the recent report said 12% of television viewing is done on YouTube,
Hmm.
not the traditional cable TV anymore. And the second one, so 12% YouTube, 8 or 9% Netflix. So they've got a big chunk right there,
Yeah.
right? Sports are still being watched on regular television, but pretty soon they're also available on other platforms.
Right. Well, and the cost of cable's going through the roof, so that doesn't make it any easier either.
Well, funny thing you say that about the cost of cable, because the cost of subscription services is also about the same, right? You got
Right.
Disney Plus, you got YouTube Plus, you got Paramount Plus, you got AMC Plus. Apparently, there's AMC Plus, and there's like all these different services. And like, oh, I want to get this one. Oh, I gotta get this one. Oh,
Right.
so yeah, I mean, they're trying to follow the same model because they're run by ad revenue, or ad revenue slash user revenue. So either you pay for it or you're the ad.
Ah, exactly. You are the product, so to speak.
You're the product. Yes.
I absolutely love it. That's fantastic. All right, let me ask you my corny question here. The As you think about doing your podcast, when it comes to doing your podcast, what is it you love the most about doing your podcast, and what is it that you just absolutely hate the most about doing your podcast?
Well, what I love the most is these conversations that we're having. Right. This is the best part of the podcast, and unfortunately, it's only 20% of what a podcast consists. Right. twenty
Yeah.
percent of all that a podcast consists of, but it's the majority of the conversation. Right. So this is what I love. The hardest part, or the part that I hate, is the post production, making sure that everything is put on correctly, and the editing and publishing. And I learned the hard way about a few years ago, as I was doing all of it. And as I was doing all of it, I was let go from a company from my full time job. Like, hey, you're spending too much time on your podcast.
Oh,
So I was like,
wow.
okay. And I was warned ahead of time. They're like, hey, you need to get an editor. You need to get a podcast producer. when you go into this journey. I'm like, no, 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 I'm tech savvy. I can do all of this stuff. But what I don't realize didn't realize then is that I only have 24 hours
Right.
in a day. So when I brought a team on, which now I heavily depend on. I mean, I got 80 episodes in the bank. I'm not going to be editing them. When I got the team on, it's so much better because now I have 80 hours in one day that I can allocate and get this stuff done. So those are the. Was this supposed to be the corny joke, Rory? I
That's
don't
the
know.
corny question, right? That's the corny question. Yeah. I mean, it's, what do you love the most? What do you hate the most type of thing.
Yeah,
It's just, that's why I
love it.
call it my corny question. Yeah.
Nice.
So you passed. Beautiful. You got right through it.
I love it.
Oh, thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today. The Normally I end with this question, but I have one more I want to ask you after that. So I'm going to hit you with this one now as we, head towards wrapping up. You've been doing podcasting for more than a minute. And so, what's your best piece of advice for any of the podcasters that are out there who are just not quite where you are yet?
Don't quit. Just keep going. And if you're doing it alone, don't. Because here's the part, right? We You can only go so far with something like a podcast because number one, you are communicating with other people. So why not bring other people around you that support you, that encourage you? So if you're thinking of quitting, just find some more people that want to go on this journey with you, and you'll be thankful that you did.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. I love that. All right. We're going to wrap this up now, but I don't normally wrap up with this, but we've covered a lot of ground. You have a lot of accomplishments. You've got a lot of things out there. And I'm pretty sure we touched on most of them, but so many of these topics today, we could have done a whole episode just on your books. We could have done a whole episode on your mission with the video school. So I want to leave you with this question. I want to give you the floor for the last minute or two here. And I just want to say, is there anything that I didn't ask you? Is there anything that maybe we talked about, but you want to drive home a little more for the folks who are listening today? Or maybe a nugget or a leave behind, some parting words for everybody. Give you the floor. The floor is yours, my friend. You go right ahead. What do you got for everyone?
Man, first of all, thank you so much, Rory. This was a fun conversation. I love, like I said, I love conversation. I love talking with people and getting to share my story. Come on, who doesn't love to do that? I mean, I don't get to do a whole lot of that when I'm hosting the show, but this was a lot of fun. I get to, you know, tighten up my own story a little bit over the years. But the one parting thing that I want to leave behind is whatever little thing that you think about before going to sleep, guess what? There's so much more that you can do with it. So if even if it's a small thing or a big thing that you might think, oh no, there's nothing that you can do, or it's too late for you. Maybe you're 40, or maybe you're in your 60s. I want to tell you that Colonel Sanders started KFC at 66, right? There's people starting at a late age, and it's never too late. So if there's something you want to start, find the people who are doing it and imbue yourself with that energy so that you can go out and do it. So, a huge fan of masterminds. It's helped me elevate way more than I could have imagined, and that's what I would recommend. The vision behind the media school, I didn't even have it till I was given the option to even think that far out. 10 years from now, where would I want to be? Well, I would like to have a media school. So I'm teaching what I love to do, teach technology. Like, well, why can't we make it happen now? I'm like, why not? Yeah. So that's what's up.
I
Thank
love
you
that.
again.
Why not? Yeah, just why not? As podcasters, I think we need to say that more often, why not instead of why, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
beautiful. All right. Founder of Humble Zone, creator of Home Studio Mastery, author of two books, Mastering iPhone video production, and 7 stages of home studio evolution. The constructor of two awesome challenges, which you guys are going to have to find out more about on his website, and the host of the Hacks and Hobbies podcast, Passion to Profit Stories, Junaid Ahmed. Junaid, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was great, and I enjoyed every minute of this. So thank you for a fantastic conversation.
Absolutely, Rory. Thank you again for the invite. We should do this more often. Thanks again.
All right. I think so too. Folks, this has been another awesome episode of The Podcaster Nation. And the reason we get such fantastic people to come on here and tell their stories is because this is the podcast that's about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. And I think we showed it yet again today, folks. This is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.